Game day, the real Kyper and Bourne show.
Yeah.
There are 14 games on tap tonight. We are hacking them in, including Sammy's Toronto Maple Leafs against the Calgary Flames. I'm Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, and Jen Rolnick. Today, with you for the next 2 hours, we are live on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus. Toronto Maple Leafs looking to go back-to-back in the province of Alberta. Not the state of Alberta. The province
Not yet.
of Alberta. As they take on... they want to start the show getting booed.
No, we're not getting booed.
No.
A whole other country.
One anthem night tonight, boys. Should be in the clear.
I wonder if they'll stop having the U.S. anthem in Canada for a while or vice versa. Do
No.
we need the other country's anthem?
No.
Do we need it?
I don't know.
No, we got a 30-day window to decide that.
The anthem or not?
Don't be in such a rush,
That's right.
okay?
Right. There's still good decisions to be made.
But it's safe, at least for tonight, as you said. Toronto and Calgary. Joseph Woll scheduled to start, with Stolarz being a possibility for Thursday against Seattle before everything shuts down Saturday night for the Leafs against Vancouver. So you're okay with going right back at it for Joseph Woll?
Gosh, it's a lot. You know, it's not like the Flames are a high-flying offense. Maybe just an extra couple of days for Stolarz. Don't want to rush him back. Seattle doesn't score either, so I guess you can't really go wrong. All I have to say is, did you guys watch any of that game last night? Boy, am I excited for 14 games tonight. That was tough.
Ottawa
Yeah,
and
it
Nashville?
was just tough that was the only option. You can't flick back and forth when it's on.
I caught the highlights.
Yeah.
I watched it.
Ottawa, 2 points behind the Leafs.
Yeah,
Just two?
things have gotten really interesting in the Eastern Conference.
As I look towards Sam.
We'll get into
Listen.
that, but
I see, Sens fans are so excited about this regular season success, finally. Red Wings fans are so excited about the regular season success. And to them, I say, great. Good for you.
welcome aboard.
Leaf fans, we do this a lot. We get excited about regular seasons, and then you know what happens. So
I don't think they care. They
Good.
They're in
the honeymoon phase of
they
regular season success.
Totally.
Let them have the regular
Yeah.
season success. That's great for
they
them.
just need to get in.
Yeah.
And they can compare themselves to the Leafs, who haven't looked great in 60% of their games this year. It's let them just be excited. They're right behind the Leafs. Good for them. Big brother, there's letting them back into it. Let them
Just
let
give me
them
a
rip.
chance. Just give me a chance. Now they got they have a tough schedule too, because they got Tampa Bay. Not that we're going to derail our Leaf
Ottawa does?
hour here, but yeah, Ottawa's got
Tonight?
Yeah.
they're in Florida now. 2 against Tampa and 1 against Florida.
Oh, wow. I'm sure they'll just keep on winning all the way to the top. I'm sure the ride will never end.
Okay. More importantly, control what you can control if you're the
Yes.
Toronto Maple Leafs. Don't worry about Ottawa. Don't worry about anything else other than the fact that got to beat the Calgary Flames tonight. And the question is, are you going to do it with or without Mitch Marner? You're going to do it with or without Oliver Ekman-Larsson? Two 20-minute guys.
Yeah. Well, Mitch is more than a 20-minute guy. He is.
At least 20 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I just mean, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, with all due respect to OEL, his 20 are not quite as valuable as Mitch's 20. That's a pretty big 20 you're taking out.
I think that as soon as he stepped out, it put so much tax on that blue line. It had a big part to do with Edmonton Oilers Saturday night coming on so strong.
I think so.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. I thought that it was kind of a wake-up call for – I think we've been back and forth on Oliver Ekman-Larsson's contributions to the Leafs this year. Hot start, bit of a dip, kind of trending back in the right direction. And I think after he went out, it kind of showed the importance of him. I mean, you're playing with 5 guys. I understand you're trying to patch it over. But
Whatever
he
you
is
think
solid.
of his play, Sam, it's like whatever replaces him is so unsolid that he
Yes.
becomes very essential.
And that's
Bingo.
the way I look
Perfectly
at Morgan Riley, too, is we can sit there and say, oh, my God, he's having a horrible season. But take him out of the lineup and try to plug in those 20 minutes plus, and you're in big trouble.
Yeah, you're not going to like how Marshall Rafai does it when Morgan's not in. So that is important.
So I gather we're not going to get a whole lot out of Craig Berube. So do we still attempt to get a clip out of him on Mitch Marner?
We got a few.
If we were worried about the vagueness with Matthews, get ready for vague, buddy. Get ready to learn vague.
World record vague.
Clip 1, Mitch Marner update, please, Derek.
For Mitch.
Game time decision.
What happens?
I don't know. Something happened in the game, I guess. Just not feeling right in certain areas, so we're trying to work on it. Trying to get him ready.
He's not ready. Like, he does so many things for you guys. Like, how difficult will it be to fill that void?
Well, I mean, it's like anybody that goes out. It's hard to fill them voids. It's just guys, get a different opportunity for some guys and people stepping up and doing the job. We've done it all year, and it just if he can't go, then we've got to continue to do it.
Pretty much said that.
Can we just get the start of that again, please, Derek?
For Mitch.
Game time decision.
What happens?
Oh.
I don't know. Something happened in the game, I guess.
Okay, good.
Someone threw his keys
in
out.
certain areas, so we're trying to work on it. Trying to get him.
See, so he gave it away. Something happened, certain areas. So he tweaked something.
Got some general soreness in some general area.
And he's this close to either coming back or giving it a night off.
Yeah.
Excuse me, you didn't answer me. You just...
I'll go ahead and say if Mitch Marner has soreness and he's this close, take the night off.
Agreed.
Take the night off. There's 82 of them. The Leafs are going to be somewhere around the top at the very end. You got a few guys that you can't mess with. Mitch is one of them for the Leafs. Right?
Yes. And I don't know who, Willie, I don't know if there's anyone else really.
Oh, it's Austin.
Outside
it's Willie.
Austin, you still found a way to win without him this year, in certain stretches. I'm not saying that you want that in April, but I'm just saying that
if
when
Austin
you
is close, rest him.
When you factor in.
We said that multiple times when he was hurt.
Like the shorthanded situation, the defensive zone face-offs, when you factor in everything, it's like this is the one guy that is truly irreplaceable right now outside of your goalie.
And we said remember the game Matthews was a game time decision against Buffalo, and all of us said, why are you doing this? Why is this a game time decision against Buffalo? And he goes out there and he gets cross-checked in the back, and where he missed 5 or 6 games after that.
Right.
It's a cautionary tale here for one of your, like you said, outside of goalies, maybe your most important guy. It's really just be careful pushing him into these games 3 days before you're about to go on a big break. He's not, I understand, he's going to the Four Nations face-off. Mm-hmm. But just be careful with these games. That's all I would say.
So, I've been calling it for a while now, Max Domi with Austin.
Mm-hmm.
If there's an opportunity here and Mitch doesn't play, we'll get really a very good look at what also led to the thought of re-signing Max to a very lengthy contract, was that he could, in a pinch, go up there and have success with Austin Matthews. Well, okay, let's see it.
Yeah, we don't have this in the quote from Berube, but he was talking about Domi, and here's what he says about him. I like Max's game right now. I think he's more aggressive, shooting more, attacking better, skating better. He's got to continue to do that. He's got ability. He's got a real good shot. He's a very good playmaker. He's a strong skater. He's fast, and he needs to use the speed. Real quote from Berube on Domi.
Maybe let's play the Max Domi moving up, clip 3. Maybe that's what he said today. I don't think that's what he said. Let's hear it.
Yeah, well, Max is, a lot going back to last year, played a handful of games or more with Austin, and they had some pretty good chemistry going. So he's a passer. We need a passer on that line with Matthews and Nyes. So he's a guy that can make plays. And like I said, it's all about Max. It's all about his skating. He needs to move. He needs to attack and have that mindset for me.
Okay, so that was from today. Maybe that was from yesterday in practice that he
Clearly,
said that.
He didn't mention anything about shooting, right? Passing.
Yeah.
He's already leading him towards get the puck to 34.
But
he's a passer, right?
Yeah.
They said he needed a passer. They put a passer on the line, yeah. You know, I don't think it's any grand conspiracy that they're like, get it to the guy who shoots it in.
Yep.
You know, that's good coaching.
But also, you know, it's kind of mixed messaging that they're giving him. You know, like he's like, I need him to shoot more. I need him to shoot more.
No, not tonight.
And then it's like, tonight, you pass.
We need to pass.
You're the
need to
passer.
pass.
You're the passer.
I mean, it's really the only way to get it out of him. Max is, you even go back to the last 5 years, his pace is not that of a 30-goal scorer, 25-goal scorer, even a 20-goal scorer.
Yeah.
You know, he's at 15, 10 to 15, maybe not 10. Like, he needs to set guys up. He needs primary assists, so he's got the opportunity with some finishers here to rack some of those up.
You also like the clip on Morgan going back in if Mitch isn't on the power play?
I thought it was funny. We'll play it.
Play it.
I wouldn't exactly say it's the most glowing endorsement. Let's just play it.
Well, it's just he's been there, right? For I don't know how long here, but he's played in that situation, and he's to me he's the guy that goes there. That's really what it boils down to right now. If Mitch is out,
It's like when you're
that's
when
what
you're
I
a
know
parent,
about him.
you're yelling at your kid, and they ask you why, and you just say because.
Yeah,
Because I
said so.
That's why.
I have good,
Why
no
is
good
Morgan
reason.
there? That's
End
what
of
we're
story. That's it. That's what it boils down to.
That's just the
Yes.
choice we've made. And don't need to explain.
I looked at contracts.
Mhm.
It is $7.5 million.
That's
wins.
where he goes. Yeah.
Wins.
Really not that complicated. So, whatever. I think it's good for Morgan to get a chance back there.
Well, they've been putting literally anyone else they could on that instead of him. Like they put when there was Marner, they put McMahon, they put Pacioretty, they put all these different guys. And I guess none of them are top of the point players. But I think, you know, Marner goes out. You got to throw this guy a bone.
Yeah.
It's been taking a bit of a
I
beating. Let him get a
expect to see
couple
him
of cookies.
Shoot the puck where, you know, he gets into this mode where he won't shoot it, and he's just looking to the flanks. I would expect him to shoot the puck a little bit.
Did you watch last night Jake Sanderson's pull the puck off the wall, take it to the middle, and completely, I think it was no check. He just completely faked out of blocking a shot.
Yeah.
And then drifted one to the net for a goal. Like the footwork off Jake Sanderson on that goal was spectacular. It was Quinn Hughes-like. It was Cale Makar-like.
You want Morgan?
No, I'm not. I'm just reiterating. Morgan can't do that.
No.
He cannot physically do that.
Yeah.
But man, what a gift to have a guy that can do that.
Yeah.
And Mitch is not a defenseman, but he is the closest thing they have to the footwork that I'm speaking of taking a puck off a wall and getting it to the middle of the ice. That's going to be missed.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, Kip, because, like, as you look around the league, guys like that, like, they almost didn't exist for a long time. Very few people could do what you're talking about. And now you look around the league and you go, Hughes can, Makar can, Werenski does it pretty well,
Hutton.
Theodore can, Hutton does it, or
Yeah,
Hudson.
Hudson,
does it.
sorry.
Adam Fox does it, Evan
Yeah.
Bouchard can, Owen Powell, you know, Yossi. All of a sudden it's like, 20 teams have a guy who can do that.
You're right.
That's
More.
why they paid
More.
$4 million last year
Right?
for the ghost of John Klingberg.
And
Because they
that's-
thought he might be able to do it.
That's,
Even Eric Gustafson was here for a minute
yeah.
being like, can you do it?
Yeah.
right? And that's where it's like some of these guys are like 5'10" and 160 pounds, but they can
They skitter.
shimmy
They skitter.
with the best of them. And one guy, you just need one guy back there,
Yeah.
preferably an offensive defenseman that can bring it. But right now, that's missing.
So, do you think that they need that? Is
Listen,
that
every
something
team
they
would
should target?
love that.
But like
Do they
more
need
than
it?
another defender?
They look like right now they need one bad.
It's funny watching the Isles scoop up Tony D, who goes in and shoots one in overtime the other night. That Boquist, you know, he's a bit of a puck mover. Same with the other guy they got from St. Louis.
Oh, yeah.
What the heck was his name?
I forget his name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he was a
Offensive guy.
Hobie Baker winning 5'10" D man. You know, like these guys you can get them. Those guys are flawed D. I don't want them necessarily.
The only thing you can do is keep Mitch back
Brunovich.
there.
Sorry.
Yeah. But the only thing you can do right now,
Keep Mitch
if you're not going to find one at the trade deadline, they don't exist or they're too expensive. But Mitch has to be that guy on the power play, bringing the puck to the middle of the ice up high.
Yeah.
No question.
And the biggest thing is that his deception can create lanes. He can fake and move and slip and do all those things that these D we're talking about can do. So he probably ends up staying there.
Yeah.
In about 20 minutes, we'll welcome in Eric Francis, senior columnist analyst with Sportsnet based out of Calgary. We'll talk about the Flames, but this will be a tough challenge for the Leafs again. Just like Edmonton, I don't know if they can count on a great start and a 3-0 lead, but this is a team that won't go away. Let's get Craig Bruby's thoughts on the Calgary Flames. Clip 4, Derek.
Yeah, they're a hard-working team. They've been for a while, years. They're going to compete and they're going to work. Added 2 new players to their roster. They look to me like they're playing pretty good. I saw Frost and Farabee in Philly for a while, so they're good players. We're going to get challenged. I'll tell you that. It's not going to be easy, and we don't expect it. We're going to have to earn everything, and their goaltending has been lights out.
I think the most notable Calgary Flames trait is forecheck. The work ethic on the forecheck. They turn pucks over and they keep coming and they send waves I've had to cover them a number of times doing games at night, and it's like none of them are stars, but God, they just press so hard. So that's going to be pressure on, yes, Morgan and Benoit and Myers or whoever's in. Benoit, do we know who's in for D tonight?
Well, I think it's on.
Timmins?
I think it has to do with Ulrich Larson if
yeah.
he's going to play or not tonight. But yesterday at practice, they were skating Riley Myers, McCabe, Tanev, Benoit, Timmins.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that if Ulrich Larson's good to go, you probably just take out Myers and put him in with Riley again, like they did the other night.
Yeah. So those guys are going to be under
Yeah.
heavy pressure. So curious to see if they go for flips or how they want to relieve that pressure. But
It's not, to your point, it's not like, Jonathan Huberdeau actually leads the team in scoring.
low scoring team.
Kadri's right behind them, but they're in their mid-30s of points, 37 and 36 respectively. It's not like anyone's lighting it up there.
No.
Blake Coleman's their third leading scorer with 12 goals.
Farabee and Frost were like necessary adds for a team that hopes to make playoffs. I mean, what's Huberdeau have, the top dude?
20 goals.
20 goals.
He's
and
on
maybe
pace for 31, 32.
and 35 points or something like that.
And he makes $10.5 million.
Yeah. Your boy Mitch has 70 points. Like double Huberdeau's points to try to get to some of the top guys on other teams. They are lacking top-end talent, but every line works.
And the one thing you can say about them also is the fact that they get a lot of nights when their goalie looks like Joseph Woll.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. It could be a lower scoring affair if both those guys are on their games.
No, I actually am really looking forward to this. I think it's a completely different animal than what you saw on Saturday night in terms of just like high octane skill, wave after wave. You're just going to get a grittier effort, probably just a completely different looking thing. So it'll be interesting to see how sorry Stu Skinner, but they'll probably go against a better goalie tonight in Dustin Wolf, who's been one of the great stories in the NHL, confirmed starter for tonight, and one of the favorites for the Calder. So really excited to watch him play too.
He's maybe one of the most fun goalies to watch in the league. At his size, jumping around in that crease, he's awesome.
Yeah. So got a different kind of test for Leafs tonight, and Flames are fighting for their playoff lives. They're going to get 2 teams here on this trip. They're playing against Calgary tonight, who is right on the bubble, and then you go in on Saturday night against a whole new team basically in Vancouver to go, and they're fighting for that same spot. So it's going to be a tough couple games. I'm just going to leave the Squids out of that, which is the one they'll probably lose. But anyways, it's just some tough tests coming up for them here.
Yeah.
The good news also for the Toronto Maple Leafs is John Tavares came back Saturday night. I think it was all but 6 games that he missed, which at the time of the injury during practice, it was hit or miss whether or not he was going to sneak any games in before the Four Nations break. Your assessment of John Saturday night, and we'll get Craig Bruby's thoughts follow.
I'm going to be completely honest. I didn't notice him much.
Didn't
and that's not a
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't bad, but
Yeah.
there was no moment where I was like, he's back, baby. And I was,
Yeah, I think it was his play off the wall that got the puck to Willie for his goal.
okay. Yeah.
Other than that, I think it was actually, I mean, a good sign of maybe his focus or his dedication to get back early, especially when the Leafs were coming off that 3-game losing streak.
Hey, the amulet has healing powers.
Do you think?
I do.
Is that what it is?
I do.
For yours, for what, the cost of what? How much?
Luckily, I wear this magical amulet.
$150?
It's $250. I think.
$250?
Yeah.
Leafs go to the Cup final, boys. I'm rocking amulet every
Oh,
day.
buddy.
Every
In on
day.
the amulet.
Is that
Glorious
Canadian or
amulet.
American?
If it was American, it'd be 1,000 Canadian.
All right, let's get Greg Bruby's thoughts on his former captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I thought he looked fine. I think I probably used him a little bit too much than I wanted to down the stretch. Maybe got a little bit gassed, but he looked fine to me. I thought he had a good game for us, for the most part.
So he ended up playing 1954 on Saturday.
Pretty
He was
good.
a +1. He had an assist, like you said, and he made the play off the wall to Willie
He had
to
good
shut
puck
it in.
touches.
23 shifts. A lot has been said about Tavares, and we have said a lot of it, and, the contract and him going forward. But, he has 43 points in 45 games so far this year, boys. He scored 20 goals already. I mean, he's
still doing what he's done his whole career.
he is still John Tavares. Like, he is, like, you go to his Hockey DB page,
Yeah.
and this is the same season John Tavares has every year. He always gets to these numbers. And when he went out, like, you really
gets
felt it. You really, really felt not having that presence on the second line, ability on the power play to put one home, like just the board work, all the stuff that you get from him. And I think it's a complicated relationship with Leaf fans in terms of going forward because,
Yeah.
are we all sure that it's the best thing to let him go? No, but do we all want him back? I don't know either. Like,
It's
I
actually
really
funny.
am kind of stuck in the middle on this Tavares.
Because we've talked a lot about this spike in the salary cap, and maybe no person is more adversely affected than the perception of Tavares. Like, had the cap the last 5 years from the start of the pandemic, it was 81.5, 81.5, 81.5, 82.5, 83.5. So went up $2 million in 5 years.
What a jump.
Yeah. Had it just gone up its few million a year,
Yeah.
his number would have started to look better. Some people would have made more money. But yeah, the perception has always been you have to produce like the top guys. And maybe that's hurt his reputation because you certainly will miss it
But
if it's gone.
on the flip side of that cap conversation, Borny, like if he does re-sign here for, I don't know, what's the numbers that have been thrown out there? 5, 6,
4.
7, whatever it is. Going next year, it's like, okay, that's already not that much. You go the next year, that's even less. You go the next year.
No, I disagree with you. I sort of cut you
No,
off.
it cut me off all day.
We don't know what's too little or too much until you find out what you need for Mitch Marner. And
okay.
like, if you make a mistake signing Tavares today at, say, 6 or 7.
But I'm not talking about doing it today.
No,
He's the type of guy
I
that in the
know.
offseason.
But I'm just saying,
you can
though,
do it.
Like, but you can do it in the off season after you know what's the heck's going on at the top of your
With Mitch.
pyramid,
For sure.
right?
No question.
So he is. You gotta make him wait. Is my point.
And I think
Right?
everyone agrees
So
with that. Him too,
if-
I'm sure.
If Mitch leaves, and now you think that you've got to go after Rantanen, if he's still out there, you don't know if the number's 12, 13, or 14.
Yeah, you don't want to be locked into
Right?
Tavares.
So you cannot give Tavares an extra $1 million or $2 million if you need it at the back end to go and replace Mitch Marner.
Mm-hmm.
So John doesn't want to go anywhere. He came here from the Islanders. He took all those crap sandwiches from the fans.
Still takes him.
Still takes them
Snake.
because he wanted to come here, try to win a Stanley Cup for his hometown, and retire a Maple Leaf. He will be there at the end, and I assure you, he'll take really whatever completely doesn't embarrass him to stay.
That's a good point.
Okay.
He
So
can't
then,
embarrass-
so then, if that's the case, I think I want him to stay around. if it's going to be a small number with the cap jumping and what you get from him in the production and his even if
Kip, but I've done this with Sam. If they don't win, it doesn't work.
But even if you diminish
Cheaply or not.
even if you diminish his role a little bit, like you still know what you're going to get. I don't know if it's going to cost a number that is low enough, but that doesn't embarrass him.
No.
I don't know.
Now you're talking Spezza on the fourth line.
No,
again.
I guess you're right.
You're
right.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
JB, well, the thing is though, like after 15 years or 16 years, whatever he's in the league now, like you're going to invent a new role for him with this new contract. And whether or not he's willing to embrace it, whether or not he'll even be good at it, we're not sure. But you cannot, if it doesn't end very well this year for the Leafs, you cannot tell him we'd like you back and we'd like you to be the second line centerman and continue with your point of game pace because we've been so successful in the past.
Right. It is interesting.
It's useless. Even if you signed him as a second line centerman at 80 points, we have proven in 7 seasons it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It will be interesting. You know, you talk about the Rantanen thing. Like if he doesn't re-sign with Carolina, he's up, right? Like he'll decide this summer. Let's say things were to go extremely average in the playoffs. They lose in the second round, and Marner's a point per game and plays pretty well. You know, I'd be curious to know if they would talk to Rantanen and be like, would you do this before they went back to Mitch?
Absolutely. You have to keep all of your options open.
What's there?
Like it's almost as if everybody had forgotten that like people were screaming at you to break up these 4 guys.
Right.
Willie, Marner, Matthews.
Just the worst thing that can happen is an unclear answer in playoffs. Do you know what I mean?
And
where they play okay,
right? And
they don't get that far, but they're okay.
And it wasn't because of the recent signings. It wasn't going to be Matthews. It wasn't going to be Nylander. You had to get rid of Marner or in the summer. We
talked to a lot of Tavares too, but that never happened either.
No.
Well, we had thought for a while they might lean on JT and be like, "Hey, sorry."
But they could have easily chose to treat Tavares like St. Louis just treated Brendan Saad, where we're going to figure it out. But you're it's not working anymore. So here's the choices.
But he's still good.
But that's why he's still here. That's why they didn't do that.
Because they need him.
Yeah.
Like he's still part of the plan here for this year at least. And then you see what happens next year.
Whatever the reason was, they just chose not to go down that path to change the feel or the look. But rest assured, you got to change a look. Maybe it's, hey, we love Mitch Marner and we love what you did for us this year. It's still not enough. The chemistry's not right. We're not getting rid of Matthews. We're not getting rid of Nylander. It's time for you to go. Let's go visit Rantanen now.
I can't see any free agent coming to Canada. It's really hard to see, It's just the way things are going. I mean,
You're right. There's a lot of things going against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and $500,000 to $1 million worth of endorsements ain't getting it done.
Can we call the Canadian Tire guy? Let's get him in the room.
It's not Tire. It's just it's not enough.
Hello, Dave.
But
Dave Tire,
for the time being, I don't think John needs to worry about it unless he's worried about it.
Right.
But everything,
I guess it
everybody's
depends
on
if
the
he
line.
planned on owing the government $8 million in back taxes or not, or whatever the CRA was chasing him down for.
No, we've gone full City News 680 on this show in the last couple of days. We're touching on everything.
We're worldly folk.
Wow, it's crazy. So no, but I think you got to give some kudos to the season that John Tavares has had this year when a lot of people.
That's the right answer. A little love. No, you're right.
A lot of people, myself included, did not see that. I think it was kind of written off, and they were talking about getting rid of him.
Everyone said the last year is going to be ugly.
I mean, they stripped the C off this guy, like in like a weird ceremony where they're both on stage and they're like,
be there.
Oh, it's like, ugh. And he goes out there and he's having another great year. So
I did have some people
credit.
write me who were like, did you have to make him show up, be a part of that? But I think he probably wanted to show his coolness.
If you knew,
I'm cool.
This doesn't bother me at all.
If you knew back then you're just going to get a point a game out of Tavares, would you ever have thought to sign him at $11 million 7 years ago?
If I had thought the cap was going to keep going up, probably, but not knowing that it just didn't at all.
Point a game guys aren't top 5 paid players in the league.
No, but when you get them for nothing, for no assets, there's a premium on that. And the Leafs were looking for the thing that was going to push them over the top.
I hate to admit how high on my excited about the Leafs rankings that sorry, Derek was just talking in my ear as I was talking there. Sorry. I hate to say how excited I was, how high it ranks of excitement of when they signed him. Like in terms of all my Leafs moments of my life, that day, all the stuff coming out, that tweet, that was one of the most exciting days in Leafs history. And it's just nothing really has happened.
Yeah.
When you factor in the upside at the time for Matthews and Marner, I really thought that there was a possibility that John could go from this 80-point guy to a 120-point guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's crazy is if you look at his early Islanders days, he made his wingers so much better. Matt Molson did nothing. All of a sudden, Matt Molson, I shouldn't say nothing. He was a very good
Josh
player.
Bailey.
But he went through the roof, and Pierre Peranto and
Josh Bailey.
Peugeot and Bailey, and all these guys had the best seasons with him.
Okay, but the 30 goal scorers, 35 goal scorers?
Yeah.
Not 50.
They weren't 30, 35 goal guys till they played with JT. He made guys better there. And it didn't carry over here necessarily. I don't know if that's where he was in his career. Or what, but watching those Islanders teams, like whoever got to play with him.
But it wasn't Sid turning Kunitz into a Team Canada member.
No, John ain't Sid. Never has been.
Right?
We should go.
Okay, let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll bring in Eric Francis, tee up the Toronto Maple Leafs, Calgary Flames. Big game tonight. More to come on Real Kyper and Bourne. Welcome back into the studio. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. Did you make dinner a lot at home?
No, but we were just, my wife, when she went away, I went to Costco and I bought 3 ribeyes. And that was the whole meal. Like Uncle Rico and Napoleon Dynamite. Like just that.
But you're just right back into the cave, eh?
Yeah. Like I might as well use my hands. I don't know. You do it upright, eh?
Wow. Yeah, I do. I like the kitchen.
You got the skills in the kitchen?
I do, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, not bad.
You're Greek.
All right. Let's bring in Eric Francis. We'll talk about his skills on another day. How are you, pal?
He's ashamed by me, I think.
Senior columnist.
You can cook or handy, because I'm neither.
Are you the first person in the media buffet in line? Is that the type of guy you are for dinners?
Oh yeah, definitely. And usually the 3rd and 5th guy in line. Unfortunately.
Without a doubt. How are you? Things are well out west, right? We're waiting for like Calgary to kind of fall off, and it's just not happening, Eric.
It's minus 25 right now, so it's not perfect out here right now, but it's it's what an incredible season in terms of positive storylines. Like, boys, when we spoke 3-4 months ago, I'm not sure that we would have been thinking it was all going to be sunshine and lollipops here in Alberta. There were, I think a lot of people thought there were going to be continued growing pains, and hey, they still may not make the playoffs, and if they fall just short, they will have also cost themselves a pretty good draft pick that people were expecting this year. But either way, tons of positive storylines right now, and Dustin Wolf's probably at the top of that. I mean, I would like to think that around the league, there's a recognition that this guy's got to be the front runner for the Calder, and that's not to take anything away from Lane Hutson or Celebrini, but when you talk about the impact that a rookie's having on his team, you can't even compare him to Lane Hutson or Celebrini. Those guys have not had anywhere near the impact. Dustin Wolf is the reason the Calgary Flames are in a playoff spot right now. Period. End of stop. That's got to get you some Calder love.
Yeah, I would say that puts him pretty near the top of the list. We're going to touch on a whole bunch of Flame stuff, but the first thing I want to know is how's it going with Frost and Farabee so far?
So far, so good. Frost got a goal the other night, a pretty nice goal.
Shot.
Stepped in over the blue line. Yeah, we've seen some pretty soft hands from him, and that was kind of part of the bill of goods that we were sold on. They're both hard workers. I think they'll both fit in terms of the work ethic required to be a Calgary Flame these days. I know they're versatile. That Yeah, listen, I thought it was a great trade the moment it happened. Like a pretty big windfall for a team that's been looking for a center for exactly 1 year since they traded Elias Lindholm. Is he Lindholm? No, but the package they brought back here right now in exchange for basically a second-round draft pick, to me, is pretty significant. And this GM, not only has he kind of been trying to find a center all year long, but he also recognized the need to reward these guys for for a pretty incredible first half, compared to what they were expected to do. So he conquered those two things. And the third thing is these guys are here for several years. They've got team control on Frost for at least another year and Farabee for 3. So I think he hit it out of the park with this one.
So we're less than a week away from shutting the league down, but the moment it starts back up, it's a sprint 30 games here. And I'm sure Calgary Flame fans are all in now on a playoff race. And in your opinion, is it just a 2-team race right now with the Vancouver Canucks? LA's still in the mix here on teetering. Like, how do you see this thing playing out in 30 short games?
Yeah, it sure looks that way, doesn't it? A 2-horse race. Yeah, I know LA's right there. Actually, Colorado's not too far ahead either. But, and if you're a Calgary hockey fan right now, you're pretty excited about the circus that's happening on the other side of the mountains here. That's really been hurting that franchise, obviously, in Vancouver. Time will tell here pretty quickly if they traded the right guy or if they still need to make more moves. The Quinn Hughes injury, it looks like he's not going to play tonight. That's significant. A lot of reason to believe that the Flames are the team with the momentum out of the two. St. Louis, the only reason they're even close is because Calgary got swept by them on a recent trip to St. Louis that brought them right back in the mix, but they've since fallen back. So, yeah, 2-horse race, two biggest rivals. They hate each other probably the most of any team in the league. So it sets up for a delicious little 30-day sprint here.
Eric, no one's ever going to say that, like, the Flames won the Matthew Tkachuk trade. I don't think. But things are not as bad as maybe it was originally painted. Weegar's been a hell of a player for them, and Huberdeau's having a good season.
Yeah, Weegar, I guess I could throw my 2 cents in. I think he should get the spot ahead of Doughty because there's still too many questions about Doughty. I know he's played 3 games. He's played a ton of minutes, but, you're taking a bit of a chance by putting Doughty in against the world's best players after having all that time off. Weegar can do anything for you. Can play either side, can play power play, block shots. He hits guys. Like he's your Swiss Army knife for Team Canada if you need him as your 7th guy. So there's the end of that little pitch. But Huberdeau, to me, is such an impressive transformation. He had an offseason chat with Ryan Heiskanen, basically said, like, how can I be more effective? Like, help me. For 2 years, I've been swimming. I don't know what to do better. And they worked out that he would be more of a defensive-minded player. They started using him on the penalty kill, and they were trying to teach him the defensive side of the game. Look, the Flames win games 2-1, 3-2. So if you're going to be an important part of this team, you got to play 200-foot game, and that's what he's become right now. He turned himself into a 200-foot player, and he's on pace for his best season ever for goals, which is absolutely amazing considering where he's come from. He's on pace for 31. And almost all those goals are greasy, right outside the paint.
Yeah.
So he's kind of transformed his game and become a bit of a different player. I got to give him a ton of credit for doing it at that age with that many eyes on him.
So when you factor in that he could have the most goals he's ever had, it's still going to be a far cry from the 115 points he had in Florida.
Yeah.
And he still makes $10.5 million till probably 20 and 30. Is the cap going up the best friend he could have? Because now people can start getting off that, we can't win with a guy making $10.5 million and scoring 55 points a year.
Yeah, well, the cap going up, sure. Also, the fact the Calgary Flames have almost $20 million in cap space right now. So he could be making $20 million. And, what's the difference?
Right.
It really doesn't matter anymore. So that pressure is kind of off as well. And then, as you talk about the rising tide floats all boats, if Rasmus Andersson, I'm sure you're going to ask me about him in a bit here too, because he's a big topic here, but if Rasmus Andersson is able to be re-signed and stay in Calgary and buck this trend of all these veterans leaving, like, what does a number one defenseman cost you in the NHL now as a UFA? Like, is he a $12 million player? He's definitely more than $10.5 million on the open market in 2 years' time. So, and I'm not saying he's worth it, but as the cap goes up, that's going to be the price for a guy, of his, standing. So, and that will help dwarf the $10.5 million number. So, yeah, a lot of reasons why people aren't talking as much anymore about that being an albatross.
So how do you feel about the Flames' decision to hang on to Kadri, hang on to, everyone at this point? Is that long-term for the franchise the right decision?
I think it is, and I'll tell you why. Because Kadri, and I wasn't sure that I'd ever say this, but I wholeheartedly believe, he had a choice. When they jettisoned all those guys last year or they left, he had a choice. Like, I didn't sign up for this. I came here to help try and put this team over the top, and now I'm in the midst of a bit of a rebuild. And I didn't think he'd want to stay. I think the hockey world didn't think he'd want to stay. But you know what? He's taken this on as a challenge. And for one of the first times in his career, he's considered the man here, right? Like in every other city, he was, he's a good second line center, but he can't be a top center. I think he's really taken that and said, screw you, hockey world. I can show you I can be a top center. He's been their most consistent forward all year long this year. He plays with a ton of heart and soul. And when this team talks about culture, and if you tank, you lose that culture, you lose that winning culture and all that, and you got to rebuild it. This leadership group, and he's right there with the captain, Michael Backlund, Jonathan Huberdeau, Weegar, Anderson. These guys have set a standard here. They say, you follow us and you live up to our standard, or else you're not going to play here. And he's one of the guys leading by example. So I think he's an integral part of this team this year and moving forward. And I give him a ton of credit for that, because I don't think many people thought he had it in him. You guys saw him in Toronto. Attitude was a bit of an issue sometimes. Not now.
You're watching and listening to Eric Francis, senior columnist, analyst with Sportsnet out of Calgary. So in saying that, Craig Conroy and his management team probably had a vision, long-term vision on when this team could compete again for a Stanley Cup. To Justin's point, and to yours just most recently made, has this season crossed a threshold for you where you can say that the painful years of rebuild can now be avoided and we can compete for a Stanley Cup maybe quicker than we thought?
I think that's fair. I mean, we could sit here and debate whether a smaller market team in a cold climate in the middle of the West can ever really compete for a Stanley Cup. Like, that's a different debate. But, all things being equal right now, I definitely think that the most painful part is kind of behind them. Hey, they may have some missteps next year and fall back, but I think they're doing a good job proving that you can do like the Dallas Stars and not go all the way to the bottom. If you can just hit with some of your lottery tickets, your draft picks, and get lucky with a few players development-wise, I think you can turn it around a whole lot quicker than everybody seems to think is the only way to do it, which is the way Chicago did it, and go to the bottom and then come right back up to the top. The way Toronto kind of did it, go down to the bottom and get Matthews, Edmonton. For every team like that that's won a cup, the Flames ownership group will point to you to 3 or 4 franchises like Detroit, Buffalo, Edmonton for 15, 20 years that have just been stuck in the middle of the woods with no winning culture and no turnaround. Well, the Oilers have finally done it, but look where Buffalo is. Look where Detroit still is. Look, so my point is, I think that they're moving in the right direction, and they're proving to people that their plan of doing what I call a hybrid rebuild, is something that is viable.
Who do you credit with the culture of hard work there? Like, they got so many guys who are just dogs on a bone and just like watching their games, not a ton of like top end scoring, but man, every line just goes.
Yeah. I think it's that leadership group I talk about. There's 6 guys.
More than Huska?
Well, here's the thing. Huska credits the leadership group. The leadership group credits Huska. And that is to point out that it's a blend, right? It's the respect that the coaches garnered by listening to these guys, and they respect him. He respects them. It's a real nice relationship. And there's a standard that's been set in this city. And with so many young, impressionable guys getting called up constantly from the AHL over the last year and a half, it's so important that they come in and see that and see, wow, if you're going to play in the big leagues and you're going to play for this team, there's only one way to play, and that's balls to the wall. So I think it's both the coach and the leadership group have created this great culture that has been around for a while. It's a very tight-knit dressing room, more so than most teams in the league, I would dare say.
All right, looking forward to the hockey game tonight. Half the building Leaf fans are like kind of standard, right across the West.
We've seen that for 100 years here, and that won't change. You know what I am happy about? Only one anthem tonight, so we don't have to get into the garbage of booing the anthem.
That's fine. We booed it to open our show.
Hey, hold on for a second. That booing got us 30 more days.
That's right. We are not happy. I don't know if that did it.
Oh, I thought it was our leader who got it. I'm not getting political. No way, boys.
No way.
Smart.
Not on this show. Eric, great job, buddy. Thanks for coming on. Enjoy the hockey game tonight.
Cheers, boys. Always great to talk to you.
Eric Francis, senior columnist, sportsnet.ca, does a great job covering the Calgary Flames.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, sounds like he's pretty in on the direction they've taken. You know, you worry about them becoming the Minnesota Wild.
You can't be in there all season long, maybe make the playoffs, or maybe just fall short, and then next year kind of drop off again, right? That's what you kind of worry about, because to his point, now all of a sudden everybody's in play again. Kadri's in play for them. Not a guy that you got to go, he's going to miss the next wave of contention for us. Like he could be in it now.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. The thing that stands out to me is if you look at the cap pages, only 2 teams in the NHL have a lower payroll this year than the Flames. Are they then going to spend this offseason? Do they want to get in on some new names and add that way? Because you can't be like, yeah, we're on our way up, but we don't want to pay to be a contender. Only Anaheim and Columbus have lower caps.
Would they ever considering going that big?
I mean, if I'm the Flames, for sure.
I don't think Mikko is going to say yes, probably.
Yeah.
I say that because we're not on in Calgary yet, but
right.
I don't necessarily like he said himself with it's a small town in small city in Alberta, like minus 25 there today. If Mikko could be like, hey, you want to sign with the Tampa Bay Lightning or go somewhere warm? Probably ideal.
I saw someone saying, do you think Kawhi regrets not signing again in Toronto? And then they played here the other day and they walked in, it was minus 20.
Yeah, he's like, what a great choice by me.
So glad I went to the Clippers.
I'm fine.
See ya. Good
he's
luck.
like, I won a championship. I've won 2 championships. I'm the richest guy ever. Yeah. I live at home in the warmth.
Wine and dine was a nice effort, but I can afford the $80 sandwiches. But in LA, I'll be okay.
I don't know. It should be an interesting one tonight. But maybe another Leafs player heads to Alberta and it's not to Edmonton, it's to Calgary. Maybe Mitch signs there in the offseason.
I don't see that, but if Mitch is leaving Toronto,
where would he go?
If Mitch is leaving Toronto, he's leaving Canada.
Where would he go, you think? Chicago?
Cooper loves him.
Oh my God.
Wait till Cooper gets him in with Team Canada.
Oh my God.
Sammy?
Love that idea.
Listen.
Don't you do
Did
that.
I just make you cringe right now?
Yeah. No.
I love that idea. That would be so good for our show.
It would be really bad for our show.
For a couple days, and then we'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
All right. Still plenty of time left to debate that one till July 1st.
There's no debate. It just sucks.
All right. Our thanks to Eric Francis for coming on and teeing up Toronto Maple Leafs, Calgary Flames. Next hour, we go national. Steve Valiquette back for his Tuesday segment. Plenty to get into, including JT Miller's return to New York. Allmark ready to start for the Ottawa Senators?
So.
Plenty more when we return. Taking the Real Kyper and Bourne Show national on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, couple minutes, we'll welcome in Steve Valiquette, analyst for the New York Rangers on MSG and CEO of Clear Sight Analytics. Plenty to get into, including JT Miller's return to New York City, where we saw them lose Saturday to the Boston Bruins, only to come back and beat Vegas. I think he's got 4 points in 2 games already.
Yeah, he's been
impactful.
Yes, impactful player for sure. And we got to see Willie Cooley destroy Alex Pietrangelo in that game. What a hit!
That'll give you an ailment.
Oh yeah, he's ailing.
Oh my God!
So maybe it was just he saw that hit coming.
He knew it was happening.
Just
say, I'm backing out of the Four Nations for a future hit. I
preemptively. And somebody was nice enough to tweet me and tell me that the Rangers took Will Cooley 1 pick after the Leafs took Ronnie Hirvonen.
Hell.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Local,
every
hindsight.
30 teams could play that game.
Why
right?
would you want a 6'3" tough guy that skates and scores that's from the area? Why would you want him on the Leafs?
Because he might be.
You better take a 5'9" Finn that's no one's ever seen play. That was a good choice. Anyways,
it didn't pan out.
We haven't seen anybody else drop out of the Four Nations since Pietrangelo, have we?
That's your job, man.
No, it's not my job. It's not my job.
You feel you've been mentioning this every show. Who? Do you have somebody?
No, I have nobody.
Okay.
I have well, I mean,
give us the truth.
Like Quinn Hughes can't play right now this week. So
Marner.
That's
Jake Sanderson. Pack your bags.
Those are legitimate questions those fan bases are asking.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
What about the other Hughes? Jack Hughes.
Jack Hughes. There's some rumblings. Maybe he's not 100%, but I would hope that whoever is in a situation where they feel like they're not playing, whether or not, we want to judge whether it's legit or not, just do it like the day before the tournament starts. Do not do it 2.5 weeks out and then keep playing.
Can I ask you who you think is more important to Team America, Quinn Hughes or Austin Matthews?
Hughes.
Borny?
Yeah, Hughes.
The blue line. Just more control.
Yeah. Do NHL players care about Four Nations? Pierre LeBrun, I believe. No, it was just the NHL staff for The Athletic. Did a poll of 110 active players. 81.82% say yes, they care. Keep in mind, that included asking players who aren't in the event and who aren't of the countries in the event. So that would sell it.
We'll pick up that conversation a little later in the show. In the meantime, Steve Valiquette joins us, analyst with the New York Rangers on MSG. 14 games tonight, but I think you got a rare night off tonight, right? You and JT Miller. So you're going to take him around the city, get reacquainted.
I'm a 2-hour train ride from the city, Kyper. I'm staying home tonight.
How has it been since his arrival and expectations? I'll never compare like a JT Miller to a Mark Messier or player wise, but the situation is kind of the same where the Rangers brought in Mark Messier because their team they thought their team was too soft, right? Back in the 90s. And similar situation. JT Miller's here because they thought, Chris Drury thought that the Rangers were too soft.
You know what? Accurate. And if a team wants to go from Charmin to sandpaper, you need to make some changes. And I think that when you look at a team, and I think you guys could do the same thing in your studio, any workplace, I think every player fits into 4 different categories. And you have sheep herder, you have sheep, you have corpses, and terrorists. And if you guys remember being in the locker room, a terrorist is a guy that undermines the coach's message. They have small groups that kind of chirp each other, and they can really bring the overall spirit and morale of the team down. And I think that when you look at the next category, the corpses, sometimes you need those guys in your locker room because you need to get to the playoffs. A corpse doesn't care if you win or you lose, but they get their points. And sometimes you can look back on championship teams and say, you know what? He wasn't all in, but we won because he was a timely scorer. He was a game breaker in his own way. And I think that right now the Rangers had a lot of sheep, and they didn't have any sheep herders. And some of these sheep are, Lafreniere, Cooley, just because of their age, Schneider, Keandre Miller. These guys need to be raised the right way. And I don't think that up until this point in the season, the Rangers could say that we had enough sheep herders. They had Trouba, he's gone. Kako, VZ, Zach Jones have all spoken out with lack of ice time, kind of motivating their negativity. But all of these things and all of this noise, I think, does need leadership to correct a path. And I think that really does help with JT Miller coming in and just stirring it up a little bit.
It's funny now, like when you go through their roster, pretty good hockey team. You know, like, do you think there's still more changes to come? And what do you think about their chances of getting back in playoffs here?
I think they have a 20% chance to get in.
Oh, wow.
And
That's low.
It's low-ish, you know, but it's because of the number of teams they have to jump over. Yeah. They do have one of the best goalies that can back it, but every time they take a step forward, Bourne, they take a step back. Saturday's loss against the Bruins was brutal. You know, it's like, what are we doing? You know, are we right back to where we were? And that was after a push in January that gave them shouting distance. But even after having a great record in January, they only made up a point. So you've got to do it again. You've got 30 games to go and a lot of teams ahead of them playing well. But in saying that, I think this is more about next year. I think JT Miller was a move that was happening now because it was convenient for everybody to get it done now. But I think this is also a move for next year. I won't be surprised if Riley Smith possibly gets moved, Jimmy Vesey, who's not happy about his ice time, Zach Jones, as I said. There could be moves, guys, that go into what's going to be coming up next year for it's almost a rebrand. You know, I haven't heard that term yet, but it's almost a rebrand. It's like, can we take what we have, clean up a little bit, trim the fat? But trimming the fat most likely includes trying to move Mika Zibanejad at the end of the year as well.
Speaking of Zibanejad, no interest in going to Vancouver. Thus, you settle on Philip Hedl, and pretty good debut. Scored a goal, but a lot of people around the New York area always felt like he was one hit away from disappearing again. And just your thoughts on what the upside is for Vancouver Canuck fans when it comes to Philip Hedl.
You know, boys, I remember talking to you guys about this last year. The concussion conversation is close to me. I've lost my two best friends with CTE. And a week ago, Scott Page, who was the first captain of the Mississauga Ice Dogs, got his information back on his brain scan from BU, and he was stage 2, CTE, 44 years old. Steve Montador, 35 years old, stage 3. And I saw it escalate. And I know that from speaking to Chris Nowinski at BU and the CTE Legacy Foundation, he told me on one of our first calls that if one of my two boys has a concussion, they really have to be careful they don't get a second within a year. And I do believe in that. And look, there is evidence that, and Steve Montador was at Dr. Carrick's office with Sidney Crosby when Sid was going through his thing. And if you've ever seen the gyro chair that they kind of spin in to, loosen up. Well, I don't know all of the mechanics of it, but I do know that Sid went a year and a half without having a concussion, and he's been healthy since. I think it's hard when you're a fringe player to take that amount of time off. Look, I understand that. I was. And when I was in Russia, they shot me up full of everything. And I took it because I had to. And I think that sometimes we do things during our playing career that we don't think about the ramifications of the long term. But Hedl's had multiple, and I didn't like seeing him play this year. It was hard for me to watch. I was always worried when he was on the ice that he was going to take a hit. And I didn't feel like he was seeing the ice well enough the way he did before. And look, he had a seizure last year in practice stepping on Lecision's stick, an AHL player that was called up just to redshirt with him. So it's very serious for him, and I hope the best for him.
Belly, I don't mean to imply that you would know this sort of thing, but they can diagnose now in living brains the CTE?
The stages?
No, so for Scott Page and for Steve Montador, they were deceased. And
Steve Page, I'm sorry, I didn't know Steve also. Okay.
So Scott Page, so these are the two best men in my wedding, Borny. And Scott Page, he was a fighter in the OHL. He was my teammate in Sudbury. He became the first captain for Don Cherry for the Mississauga Ice Dogs. He had a great OHL career, played pro, and he was a fighter, you know, and he was, you know, the most vocal guy in the room and the party guy, and everybody loved him. But you know, it got the better of him, and you know, he passed away at this time last year.
You're watching and listening to Steve Valiquette, analyst for the New York Rangers on MSG and CEO of ClearSight Analytics. So what would our segment be without focusing in on goalies? We had a conversation the other day regarding Joseph Woll and the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I asked him, okay, how many points do you think this guy single-handedly has won the Toronto Maple Leafs? And, you know, Valley, in my day, we'd get on the back of the bus and we'd go, oh my God, did our goalie just steal one for us? And then we just leave it at that. But is there any way today to quantify what stolen games mean today in 2025?
Yeah, so this is interesting because I loved your conversation about it. It's really how we came up with this years ago, which was what we talk about after a game. Our goalie was great, we won. Their guy was better than our guy, we lost. And there are ways to quantify it with, of course, expected goals. So you go to Saturday's game, which is a 4-3 win over Edmonton for the Leafs. And we'll just use that as an example because it's really fresh for you guys. So Edmonton in this game created just a little over 5 expected goals in the game. So Joseph Woll surrenders 3 goals in the game, which means Joseph Woll records a game of +1 or more. So you need that as step number 1. Now in the same game, you need this to happen. Edmonton as a team outplays Toronto by more than 1 expected goal because it was 5.15 versus 2.30. So you get a +1 or more there. And when those two things happen in the same game, your team gets outplayed and your goalie outperforms expectations, it qualifies as a stolen win. So pretty simply put, +1 by your goalie and +1 when your team is being outplayed, stolen win. 5 have been recorded by Joseph Woll this year and 2 by Stolars. And did you have 5, Borny?
No, Sammy called 5 yesterday. Is 7 the highest combined total in the league?
It is. It is. Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's good or bad if you're a Leafs fan.
So tonight we've got Calgary and the Leafs. I would imagine
Flames have a few stolen
Flames with Dustin too. Who would be in the top 2 or 3?
Well, you know, this is, I think, the interesting thing about looking into this stuff is when you get into the weeds of it, I like to look at who's actually won in the past, Vezina trophies, and quality starts. Really what you're trying to measure is who's consistent enough to give you a chance to win every night. And I always heard in the locker room from Benoit Allaire, our goalie coach in New York, give the team a chance to win. And obviously staying healthy is a big piece. Playing consistently over time is a piece. And you do those 3 things and you're in the Vezina Trophy race. Now, for me, Dustin Wolf is the rookie of the year as of right now, but we'll get to that. Right now in quality starts and overall positive games, so playing consistently night after night, Logan Thompson right now is a 91% chance that he has a positive game. So you can imagine that that's like saying every night this guy's giving his team a chance to win. Washington is a little bit on the dangerous side of getting a great save percentage while also being on a shooting percentage bender. And usually those things kind of normalize, so they may come down to earth. But when you look back to the Vezina Trophy winners of the last 3 years, just for some context, when Igor Shesterkin won it 3 years ago, he was an 81% positive game performer. So 81% of the time he gave his team a chance to win. 2 years ago when Ullmark won it, he was an 89.8% positive game percentage. Last year, Hellebuck was a little bit lower, 81.7. But Joseph Woll this year is 5th with an 81.8% positive game percentage. And when you factor in expected goals, the only 2 goalies in the top 10 from the same team are Stolars and Woll. They've combined for 26 goals saved above expected. That's Vezina caliber goaltending between the two guys. And what it really equates to is 13 wins. Now, those numbers can come down if they happen to give a bunch of games back down the stretch. But where you're at right now is roughly 13 wins because of your goalies in Toronto this year.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great and concerning news for the rest of the team, leaning that heavily on goaltending. So let me ask you, Joseph Woll's going to start again tonight. He's been playing goal night in, night out, playing a ton of high danger chances. What are your thoughts on Stolarz? Should he come back before Four Nations? How do you think the Leafs should be handling this here?
Well, I think that you need to be sure. I wonder, look, these two goalies are the two of the top in the league. And can you just play through a season right now, keeping them both healthy for when it really matters? And I think that would be the objective. There is the benefit of running Woll right now because you've got a cushion in the standings without harming Stolarz. I don't think it's absolutely a necessity that Stolarz has to play a game before the Four Nations, but it wouldn't be bad for feedback. Just getting one game, having some feedback. That's what we always want after one or two starts, is just some video to look at. Where am I at? Where was I at before? Am I getting my reads? He may be able to get a lot out of that if there is no concern for injury. But if there's any concern, you have to side with caution because these two players, as we know, have a tendency to get injured.
Valley, we just had Eric Francis on our Leaf Hour edition of our program here, talking about Jonathan Huberdeau and how the salary cap's gone up and there's a little bit more forgiveness on his 55-point seasons if at $10.5 million. But it still doesn't seem to be that kind of forgiveness when it comes to goaltenders making $5 or $6 million. So you just find a way to get rid of them. And the latest one is Grubauer in Seattle, who's just shy under $6 million a year. Why is that?
Well, I went through an exercise today, guys, and it's pretty wild when you look at what we're paying goalies and what you're getting in return as far as consistency, and it's year-over-year consistency. And I went through a list of the amount of inconsistent goalies that are making $5 or more million. Bobrovsky, very inconsistent since he signed his big term with Florida. Wins, of course, but very inconsistent. Jeremy Swayman, the newest to it. He's really giving a goalie hug to the bottom of the standings with all the goalies. John Gibson, Jordan Binnington, Kemper, Allmark. Now, these are guys that are inconsistent because they're not always available or their play is inconsistent. Consistent guys that are making that kind of money, it's not a long list. It's Vasilevsky, Hellebuck, you could say Sorokin, Markstrom, Shesterkin, Saros. To me, that's it. Like, those are the guys that over the last 5 years always end up near the top of the list. Billy Husso, Spencer Knight, those would also go into guys that are, because of injury, having instances of making good money, but not being available. With Thatcher Demko, Robin Lehner, Tristan Jarry on and off, Merzlikins, and Grubauer. And I think that, I think it's got teams worried because we want to get into a trend where you're going to pay them for what they're going to do. And it's very difficult to predict year over year if the guys that are doing it right now are going to be available to do it down the road. I think that Logan Thompson signing his contract, with what he's done and where he's come from, it's a remarkable story. It's a remarkable story, and we love it this year. I think it's just a matter of, can you keep it going? And it's like, this guy's story is incredible, though. I think this is amazing. This guy is Brandon Wheat Kings as an overager, and then he goes to the Washington Capitals development camp as an invite because the amateur scouts identify him as being somebody that can come to the rookie camp. It doesn't go great because he doesn't get signed, so he goes to Brock University and then goes the next year to Washington's development camp, gets an ECHL, AHL contract for 2 years, and then finally signs a one-way after 2 years with Vegas. He has a two-way contract for 3 years and then parlays that into the deal that he's got right now. But his save percentage at Brock, 935. He's got a save percentage in the East Coast League at 929. AHL 943, 920. So there was a lot of evidence of him making these breakthroughs. But for him to be able to turn his career into 6 years, $35 million with a $5 million signing bonus, this is one of the coolest stories that we've seen, guys. And right now, you can look at his pre-scout, and it's pretty fascinating. Slot area shots this year, he's faced 58 shots from the slot, hasn't allowed a goal. So 2-on-1 where the puck carrier becomes a shooter, anytime a player walks into the slot and is able to look at him in the whites of his eyes and tee up on him, hasn't been beaten. He hasn't allowed a goal on 58 shots. Rebounds, 43 faced this year, only 4 goals against. That's first in the NHL. Broken plays, he ranks 5th. East to west, he ranks 4th. So he's a top guy in many areas, and I think the one thing that we have seen going forward off of career years is that they just haven't been repeated. And in the 3 years coming off of really big years, goalies just don't get back to where they once were. There's always a setback, and you can go through that from anybody recent to the past, the last 15 years. We've only seen, and in fact, this is actually a little bit of a trivia too that I came across today. Last 25 years, guys, Vezina Trophy winners that have won the Stanley Cup in the same year. There's been 2. Can you guys think of who those 2 guys are?
Vasilevsky?
No, he did it the year before he won.
Hopi?
No.
No.
Right around the same time, close.
Quick?
Not quick. No. Beat a Canadian team in 7 games.
Thomas.
Yep, Tim Thomas. Tim Thomas won the Vezina the same year he won a cup, and before that it was 03 with Marty Brodeur. But in the last 25 years, haven't seen a lot of consistency with Vezina guys coming off of that season and carrying it into the playoffs. So do you need the best goalie, or do you need the guy that is stable under tight conditions?
But still, we should have the guy you just mentioned on our Team Canada, should we not?
Yeah, well, I mean, I told you guys what happened there.
Ah.
I don't think that
share that.
Cassidy and DeBoer weren't going to have it,
Yeah, you think that was his personalities at the top?
Yeah, I think it was. They didn't have a great experience with him in Vegas. There were times that they wanted him to play and he wasn't available. And yeah, I know a little bit about what happened there, and I can't get into it, but that was never going to happen.
They never made the assessment, this isn't one of our 3 best goalies. They said, we don't want to do this.
We don't want to do this. Yeah. It happens. It happens. I know. He's been terrific. But by the same vein, I know you guys have Wolf tonight, and talked to his goalie coach this afternoon, who was my old goalie partner, Jason LaBarbera. And, I was sharing with him, here's what I've got on this guy's pre-scout. Breakaways, 3rd ranked goalie in the NHL. Now, keep in mind his size, right? I remember talking about this previously with you guys about rebounds and how good he is for an undersized guy that doesn't really have the wingspan, but he ranks 3rd in the NHL in save percentage on rebounds. And screens, he ranks 5th. And it's interesting to watch this guy because, man, does he battle. He goes tall when he has to go over the shoulder, and when he gets cut off, he can get off the hip, and he seems to do all of the work necessary before the shot. And that's an oldie but a goodie, but the harder you work before a shot, the easier the play is. That's what he does. He is a workhorse. Again, I think he's going to win Rookie of the Year this year. He's in the top 5 with all the veteran goalies right now in every single category. And to me, that tells me you're playing with the big boys. And I don't know if any of the forward skaters or D skaters that are up for Rookie this year are in the top 5 with the big boys.
Valley, one more on the goaltending front here, and that is contending playoff teams or even Stanley Cup playoff teams. Is there anyone that could look for some reinforcements between the pipes?
Yeah, you know what, Kyper? I'm thinking that there's 2 teams. And if there's an injury to any starting goalie, I think the first look would be to John Gibson. He's got 2 years left on his contract, and he's playing the best hockey that he's played in 6 years. And he's going head-to-head with Dostal, and I know that they're going to go Dostal in the future, but if there's cost certainty there, you could eat into the money. I think it's $6.5 million. But if there's anybody that should be looking right now, it would be, in my opinion, Carolina and Detroit.
Yeah.
Carolina and Detroit.
Yeah.
And those two teams, they are pushing for, legitimate spots in the playoffs. I like what Detroit's doing. Long before Detroit went on this run, they've been playing solid defensive hockey. And for Carolina, they're actually a little bit on the other end of the spectrum. They're giving up a lot off the rush. We covered them last week with the Rangers. They lead the league in breakaways against, odd mans. They are 30th to 32nd in everything off the rush, which is shocking because they're usually not typically there, but they lean in so heavily in the offensive zone that you can get behind them. So they're going to need more than what they have in net to carry them through, in my opinion, or they're not a real contender.
Freddie Anderson going to get another chance there?
Again, it's the same old story, right? Like, I love Freddie at his best. I really do. But it's very difficult to buy into guys just not being healthy. If you can't take the hospital bracelet off, how can you really rally around that? You guys know how it is.
Yep, absolutely. So Carolina has a reputation for having a couple, stats-oriented people in the front office. Are teams able to pursue goaltenders based on style and their shortcomings?
You know what? That's a really good one. If I could reach it, give me a second here. I was looking at this today because net front save percentage is really important getting into the playoffs, right? And I feel like the few stats that really do reveal themselves going into the postseason for success are your net front and how you either front pucks or box out, and your goalie's save percentage on those, because we know how important that is when things tighten up in the postseason, and odd man rushes. And my interest in odd man rushes went back, 3 years ago now. The Rangers played against the Devils in the postseason. Shesterkin got beat 14 times in the series. 7 of those were odd man rushes. So I felt like I had to bring this to the guys that really mine the data and look at it as, the data scientists can, and find out what leads to victory. And we looked at the last 6 Stanley Cup winners all being amazing rush defenses through the regular season, top 5 rush defenses, specifically odd man rush defenses, and then match that with goalies that are really good off the rush. And one thing that revealed itself for me was Vegas winning a couple of years ago, and Adin Hill came in as an unknown, but he had a very good rush save percentage. And when Vegas did gun, he was able to hold the fort. He stopped 16. He went 16 for 16 on breakaways that playoff year. So you need somebody that can fit the mold that way, and you need somebody that has a good net front save percentage. So net front save percentage, 4th right now in the NHL, is John Gibson. So, he can play in traffic, and he can battle, and he's a good scrambling guy. He gets rebounds and broken plays. If you can defend well in those areas, you have a chance to win. And that's where it's going to be difficult for Edmonton, because right now they're sliding with their off the rush defense. They were top 5 at points this year, and now they're down to 15th, and their rush goalie is not one of the best rush goalies in the NHL by history. He was having a good stretch this year, and now it's kind of set back again. You just watched the game Saturday night.
Can't leave this segment. One quick, just can't leave the segment without at least giving Jonathan Quick, some kudos on the 400th win, and giving all goaltenders, the thought that you can play into your 40s and 50s.
Yeah, you know what, Kyper, it's amazing when you look at the goalies that are elite that can play long. And I think about Ed Belfour and Patrick Waugh and Brodeur and Quick. He's one of the best that we've ever seen. He really is, from accolades, Stanley Cups, as well as his overseas. And for him to get 400 wins and be the first American-born goalie to reach 400, and I've seen this guy mature. I remember being at golf tournaments when he was a youngster, and he was a wild card. I actually didn't know if he was going to be able to reel it in and make it. And one of my favorite stories was when he was late for the bus in one of his first training camps with the LA Kings. There was 3 buses there, one going to the American League, one going to the East Coast League, one going, of course, to the airport for LA. And he went to the LA one because that's where his play warranted. Well, they grabbed his bag and they told him to get to the next bus. And when he got to the next bus, which was the AHL bus, they told him to grab his bag and go to the next bus. And that's how he started off. He started off in the East Coast League, and you talk about Logan Thompson, and it's an amazing run of perseverance for some of the special ones. And Jonathan Quick is a great example for everybody. He matured a little bit late as far as, what was warranted for him to be an NHLer. But man, is he loved by his teammates, and he's proved it over his entire career. Everybody loves him.
Yeah, we're waiting for Sammy to mature too. So we know how that feels. Valley, great stuff as always, man. Love your stuff.
All right, boys. Great being with you. Take care.
Thanks so much, Valley. Appreciate it, bud.
Enjoy your night.
Thank you.
Steve Valiquette. Really good stuff there again out of him.
Endless good stuff.
And I got zero time to, really focus on goalies because at the end of the day, they're just nothing but targets, right? So, but
It's a different sport.
his is fascinating. I find it
Yeah, they're doing something totally different. It's not systems, and it's not it's just a different position, a different thing. Yeah. So we need experts because we are not that.
I do feel smart that I nailed the 5 steals.
Yeah, 10 points.
7, but
But I will say I respect that many professional coaches now are thinking like I just said, where they're like, it used to be you'd have guys, coaches, they go, hey, keep your glove up or whatever. And it was like, what do you know?
Yeah,
Now guys are just like, I don't know. Like Sheldon Keefe was always like, they'll tell me.
I just go back to that video of Paul Maurice talking to his players.
Oh, down on his knees, up here.
With the glove and blocker.
Like everyone's so out front now.
And the goalie stick. How did they not break out laughing?
I would have started laughing.
I would have reached for the towel over my head.
He's got a point to make, and he's, putting himself on the line in front of the boys.
Such a blowhard.
Anyways, all right, game time.
Yeah, it's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app, latest odds, and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So like you said, a lot of games tonight. Quickly going through them here. We'll start with the Calgary Flames hosting the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Calgary Flames are slight underdogs on home ice, plus 120. Leafs are minus 140 on the money line there. Feel like it's going to be a really good game tonight. I don't know necessarily why I think that, but I do think it's going to be a fun one. I know you guys hate when I make this observation, but fantastic jersey matchup tonight with the Reds of Calgary, the white of the Leafs. Tons of people in the crowd.
How can I hate it? I used to write an article for The Score every playoff, ranking the jersey.
I'm actually just talking about Kyper. I know he hates it, but there'll be a ton of Leaf fans there, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Listen, I'm not colorblind. I can see nice colors.
The Western trip, to me, is like a real highlight, and I feel like this is always a really good game. Last year, I think Matthews scored a hat trick in this game, so it will be a good one tonight. Other Canadian teams in action. The Montreal Canadiens are in San Jose to take on the Sharks. Montreal Canadiens, they've been scuffling recently on having a bad go here. Patrick Laine got benched. And who else got benched for them too? The Kirby Dach got benched as well at the end of that game. Yeah. They are minus 180 favorites in San Jose taking on the Sharks.
Absolutely not.
I love taking a shot on my Sharkies, plus 150 on the money line. That's a way too big of a number.
That's a great bet on the Sharks there.
Last one I'll bring up tonight, the Vancouver Canucks, the new look Vancouver Canucks hosting the Colorado Avalanche at Rogers Arena, which has been a bit of a house.
That's a big
Pettersson and Pettersson.
Lots of Petterssons. Been a bit of a house of horrors this year for the what? I said house of horrors.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I thought it was a brothel, maybe.
Oh, buddy. Come on. Get your head out of the gutter, pal. They haven't won a ton there, as Vancouver fans know. Plus 130 on the money line for the Vancouver Canucks. Minus 155 for the Colorado Avalanche. All these games for them feel like they must win. Pettersson feels like he needs to get it going. So those are the ones I'm looking at for tonight. The other Canadian team, Edmonton hosting the Blues hosting Edmonton, Winnipeg hosting Carolina, and Ottawa on the second half of a back-to-back taking on the Lightning. And that was Game Time presented by Bet365. Visit the app, latest odds, and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll get into some news and notes, including how tight the standings just got. Talk about the Ottawa Senators a little bit. Put the jersey back on.
Ryan Hartman
got
gets
a million games.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more games than we first thought.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about that after the break. So plenty more Don't go away. It's Real Kyper and Bourne. Welcome back to the program. At Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. As a reminder, this hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. A couple of things around the league, including Miro Heiskanen out after knee surgery month to month.
Now,
That ain't day to day, baby.
That's another guy that can bring a puck off the wall and get it to the middle of the ice with ease.
and like we said about Quinn Hughes and his importance to Vancouver and to Team USA, he's that for Dallas. Dallas doesn't have a lot of top-end elite offensive guys. So this hurts them a lot. Now, the one thing they do have going for them is, God, are they going to...
Cap space?
Yes. Are they going to have him available in playoffs after not having him for the next 3 months, 2.5 months?
I don't think he had the big ACL surgery. So I don't know if it's that.
He had a surgery.
He had a surgery.
Maybe MCL or something.
So what are we? March, April? 2 months?
February 4th, 2.5 months takes you to mid-April and playoffs start.
Wow, that's so soon.
I know.
Golfing in no time.
Oh, yeah.
There is a chance. He has not been ruled out for returning for Stanley Cup playoffs.
I don't even know with him and Sagan if they have enough space on LTIR. Can you LTIR $1 zillion? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, there's a limit to that, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a big blow for Dallas, and we'll see how that affects the standings or what they decide to do.
Well, surely Cody Ceci will fill in those minutes
Like
admirably.
Heiskanen role. Ceci, he's come a long way from, the reputation he had as an early player in the league, and with Ottawa and Toronto, Edmonton, pretty good player.
I'll never forget the shot in overtime for the Leafs. The one where he just came in it was in the bubble, and he hammered it, and it didn't even cross the goal line it hit the glass in the corner. He was trying to hit so hard. He must have missed by 30 feet.
Do you remember anything from the bubble?
No, what are
Yes,
you
I remember
talking
every
about?
single thing. What do you want to know?
I can vaguely picture
Who
Corey
won?
Perry kneeing John Tavares in the head.
That wasn't the bubble.
No fans.
The bubble was against Columbus,
Where
they were down 3-0 with under 5 minutes left. It felt like
tied it.
Yeah, won overtime.
got smoked again.
Matthews scored in overtime on the power play, and then I think they got shut out in Game 5 after everybody was all excited about it.
Yeah.
But I still stick to my take this day that I'm happy they didn't win that cup.
Still no fans. The Montreal Corey Perry.
They started mixing them in towards the end. They subjected our poor healthcare workers to a Game 7 in Toronto where they were just
nurses
awful.
got to go to the game.
Yeah. The healthcare
They
workers
needed nurses after watching.
They're like, here you go, watch this, healthcare workers.
You've suffered so much.
Yeah, it's time to suffer more.
Cruel.
Anyways,
Are we that surprised that the NHL gave Ryan Hartman 10 games for driving Tim Stützle's head into the ice?
I would have been had you not yesterday said, what do you think, 10 games?
I thought for sure 6 or 7, and then I said, and I based it on the fact that this is the third time that he's come in under 18 months from his last suspension.
Yeah, this is the Jim Carrey and Liar Liar yelling into the phone.
I still think
Stop
it's
breaking the law.
absolutely remarkable that the league could just say, okay, now fork over $500,000. That's what it's costing him.
yeah, 483.
Well, you can't.
$500,000.
Good. Can't do that. Can't do that.
No, that's too much.
You're such a.
I'd rather go spend 3 nights in jail than give up $500,000. I'm serious.
Well, yeah, no, duh.
Right?
So would
Yeah,
I.
I see.
A week.
I think you'd spend a little longer than a week.
It's.
Listen, you can't play in the league if you're going to keep hurting people.
I just think it's but baseball and basketball, they make $60 million and they don't get fined $500,000.
When they get suspended, they don't.
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I think it's the harshest out of any league that the fines.
That's intentional. I agree. It hurts.
So we can
stop
go.
doing
We can go find a guy $500,000, but we then are limited to stick infractions for $3,000 or $5,000, right?
But
It's really weird.
The maximum fine thing being $5,000 and then a guy losing
hilarious.
$500,000. I kind of get where Kipper's coming from on that
It's
perspective.
It's just way out there for me.
And also, 10 games is too many. 10 games is too many. 10 games is insane amount of games.
I think they're trying to
He's
say
an easy target,
you're
though.
a problem.
No,
For sure, but he's not Rafi Torres.
He's
he's not.
No, they think he's a problem. That's why you gave him 10 games.
The most dangerous person in the league is Matt Rempe by head and shoulders. He's the Connor McDavid of dangerous player. Hartman might be next.
He's got a
Bennett's up there, but he gets $2
Hartman's
every
not
time
as
he does something
dangerous.
dirty.
He's just cheap. He's greasy. And Nick Cousins is number 2. Who am I kidding?
And Bennett. But to leave,
Bennett hits you.
Anytime
he also
Bennett
punches you in the head when you go.
when he
down.
does a flying punch, everybody just looks away. They're like, "Oh, I didn't see that." That's fine. You can an assault on Matthew Nyes behind the net, and he just fine. Keep going.
Top of the show, we just had Valiquette talking about CTE, and Ryan Hartman drove a man's head on top of him into the ice
on purpose.
Move along. There's nothing to see here.
Yeah, I mean I get the severity of it.
Yeah.
I still thought 10 games is crazy.
Yeah. Okay. 8.
That's 6 or 7. Yeah. Nobody gets. This is the last time somebody got 10 games double digits was Tom Wilson in 2018 when he got 20.
What Tom Wilson get 24?
I forget who he handled.
Oh, is that circus when the Rangers had to get Reeves after?
For an illegal check to the head.
No, I don't remember it.
Was that the playoffs?
He hammered. It must have been, but suspension, 20-minute games. I'm Googling it here, but I don't know.
I got a text Sammy. He says, tell Sammy to put some respect on the Senator's name.
Okay. Congratulations on your first good season in 100 years.
Nasty.
Well, listen. Sens fans have been telling me they've been good for 5 years, and they're finally half decent. And they're all like, look. It's like, yeah,
It's
great.
It's just a
This is what
wine.
you're supposed to be for. I'm not whining.
No,
they're
it's
whining.
They're a fine wine.
Oh,
they
they're
just need time to breathe.
Listen, they can't help but make it about the Leafs. That's what I love the most. I don't know. I saw some X account. They're like, oh, look at the Sens are right with the Leafs, and this is supposed to be the best version of the Leafs. And it's just like, can you just enjoy your really good team that's having a fantastic season for the first time in when's the last time they were good?
Mm-hmm.
When they went to the conference finals against the Pens, that was the last time they were good. That's been a long time. Just enjoy it. Why do you have to compare it to the Leafs? All you think about is the Leafs.
And you're an expert because you've enjoyed many regular seasons.
And guess what? They turn out poorly.
They hate us.
Yeah,
But I will say this is a little different because it's not San Jose comparing themselves to the Leafs. It's the Battle of Ontario. This is a measuring stick
It's
for
coming.
them. Oh,
I think it's coming.
this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 2-3 matchup is very viable.
Sometimes the standings will appear on our show. I don't know how.
No.
Because I think we're the only ones that actually.
There's no button around here. I know that.
Standings button.
Right?
We need one.
Derek and Jen do a terrific job. And sometimes every once in a while, we'll see a standing board, which is really cool on our show.
I will just say that if you're an Ottawa Senators fan and you're listening to this, I'm very happy for you that you're having your first good season in a very long time. Just stop comparing it to the Leafs and enjoy yourself. It's not always about the Leafs, guys. And by the way,
as Sammy makes it about the Leafs on our show.
But they all compare. That's all they ever talk about is Leafs. 20 games suspension was a hit to the head of Oscar Sundqvist on the Blues. So there you go.
I got nothing.
And he got suspended after that for 7 games for boarding Brendan Carlo, and then that's his last discipline.
According to our Elliot Friedman, the Canucks have made Carson Soucy available for a trade. He's still got, I think, 3.25 left on his contract next season.
Just 30 years old. I like him. I know he's having a bad year, and I know Canucks fans are like, yeah, do it. But
he was really important before he wasn't important.
In terms of driving play and defensive play and stuff, he's had good stretches of hockey.
You can't sign Marcus Pettersson without unloading his $3 million.
6'5",
it's got to come.
215.
It's got to come from somewhere.
30 years old, can play both sides. I think.
I'd say. I think he's having a pretty wretched year. But
yeah, I've heard it's been atrocious. So I get why they want it to happen. But I'm just saying there's a history of him not being wretched.
Yeah, he played really well for them in the playoffs last year. He was.
Left shot.
Remember, it was him and wasn't it him and Myers that were together? They were shutting people down. They're long. I don't know. we'll see if they get anything for him. But
Interesting one to keep an eye on as the Canucks continue to remake their roster.
we went. It's like, yeah, another guy they're going to trade.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Buddy, Pettersson's going to go too. The E. Pettersson. No, wait. Real Pettersson, not new E. Pettersson.
Your Islanders have a big game against Vegas tonight because they won 7 in a row. Everybody says they're back in it. They're not trading Brock Nelson. And
Marvette's done. Or sorry, Barzal's done. He's done for like the year. They're done.
So now they're in sell mode again. Am I putting Brock on my trade list or taking
I
him
have
off?
them in sell.
You're my expert
sell
here.
Mode. No, Kip. I mean, like you can put them on there for sure. It's just a matter of where do they win a few games? Lou is not going down without a fight.
What other guy is he going to sign out of the KHL to like pick up their season again?
No. They're without Barzal and Dobson and God, one of Pollock or Pellet.
They're
a mess.
They're in trouble. So we'll see.
It might be the year of the goalie because like what happened to all the scoring this year? It's down.
Is it?
Yeah, it's down.
Early in the season, it was up.
I feel like we do this every year. It goes up and down.
Yeah,
it?
it's a tighten up time of
Is
year.
anyone going to score 50 goals this year?
Leon
might.
does. Yeah, Leon will.
Yep.
No, but he's not on pace for it right now.
Yeah, 30-some with 30 to go. He's at 36 goals. Oh, yeah.
He's going to get 50?
Yeah.
He'll get 14 goals over the next. Yeah, he's on pace.
Will he get
Not many,
50?
though.
No, not many.
Not many. Last year, we had a lot of guys.
Yeah. IIHF extends the ban to Russia for the 25-26 season. Does that mean Russia is banned from the Olympics?
Has to be.
I think it is.
Why would you make a statement and then turn around and bring him back 6 months later?
Well, yeah, they said that they are no decisions made on 26-27, and because the Olympics were in 26, I was like, which one overlaps that? But
could the league have not invited Russian players to play in this Four Nations and then, but not honored or not put on a Russian jersey and just call them something else, like
the Olympic athletes of Russia, but call them the athletes of?
Would that have been possible?
The stars of the world,
just
the stars of Europe. Then it's just like
could you have gotten away with that?
I don't think Gary would want to.
I mean, this is the NHL trying to make a product where they sell tickets.
But as Gary alluded to when we had him on the show, Ovechkin plays for the Washington Capitals, right? So he's Russian, but he's not representing Russia. Could you have made a team that does not represent Russia?
But I mean, if they're all Russian playing together, it kind of represents Russia. I think it's impossible. Like the only way you do it is if you do the stupid Team North America again. Or not Team North America. Like Team Europe.
Yes.
Where you put like it's like there's all stars of. So then you just have a stupid hokey thing again.
Well, yeah, and you're like, and the best country at hockey is
all of the other ones
Europe.
combined. Like you have Draisaitl from Germany, and you have Pasternak from Czechia, and you have it's like I don't know.
No, we did not want that.
So there you go.
We did not want that.
So we figured it out.
All right, inching ever so closer to the Four Nations tournament. We get through this weekend. Tonight, a very busy schedule. Like we said, 14 games. Find yours, pick yours. And then we're back here tomorrow to do it all over again.
Break it all down for you tomorrow.
Solve nothing. Our thanks to Eric Francis in our first hour of our program, and then Steve Valiquette off the top of the show. What's for dinner tonight?
Beef stew.
Beef stew.
Yeah, excited about that. It's one of my favorites.
I could get into some beef stew.
Something boring. I don't know. Whatever's in the fridge.
All right.
Maybe some sausages.
Have a great night, everybody.